One of the things that will have been said to a lot of MPs, especially in the last round of voting, and will have been very, very clear on a lot of their minds, is that regardless of whoever wins, there will be a complete cabinet reshuffle. And remember, the current top two contenders that were in the race and eventually ended up winning were, of course, Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss. That means not only is the Chancellor position up for grabs, but also the Foreign Secretary. Two, arguably, in sort of name, prestige, and sort of value to sort of a MP who wants to sort of climb the ranks, are very, very valuable positions, because history even shows us that future prime ministers very, very often did either hold at least the chancellor position, the foreign secretary position, or sometimes even held both together. Well, or at least held both at one point or another. And that is what has certainly been up on offer. So I think today we're going to go over this piece that lays out who would be in the prospective cabinet, because some are quite obvious. It is very, very likely, I definitely suspect, to see I'm probably definitely saying Jacob Rees-Mogg. If Liz Truss gets in, I think Jacob Rees-Mogg is going to stay in his position. I think you're certainly going to see positions offered to Kemi Badenoch and, of course, Penny Mordaunt as well. So it is very, very possible that you will be seeing certainly those two in the cabinet positions. How well they will do, of course, will remain to be seen. But make no mistake, these cabinet positions were certainly put up on offer and will certainly be offered as, certainly were offered as red meat to get their MPs' support and backing. So let's go diving into this piece, which is having a look at who would fill a prospective cabinet in Rishi Sunak or even Liz Truss's cabinet. But ultimately, I do think it would be certainly Liz Truss. She's certainly got the lead, and all the polls are still indicating she's got the lead. So let's go diving into this. But before we do that, please do remember to hit that like and share button. And of course, down below, there is into my Patreon page and one update link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way. So over we go over to The Guardian, where they're doing this today about who they would see as these potential positions. So this is what they think would be Liz Truss's cabinet. And first up in her cabinet, obviously, the Chancellor position, Kersey Kotang. I think that is entirely possible. You're going to be noticing a lot of this theme, and I think it does continue this, and it does support the idea, certainly, that she is the Johnson continuity candidate. A lot of these people that are being put in are very much Johnson loyalists, so you won't be surprised to see that. Of course, obviously, Kersey Kotang. So Truss, of course, has most of the support members of the current cabinet who remain loyal to Johnson until the end. Among them currently is the business secretary who authored the book Britannia Unchained with Truss back in 2012 and is said to be running to become her chancellor. So once again, this book, Britannia Unchained, rears its head yet again. And I've said to a lot of people, if you want to understand the current Conservative Party, the policies that they are trying to push, certainly Britannia Unchained is definitely worth a read, but even then, it's sort of very, very light on sort of policy proposal. It's more a book of ideas, shall you say, the big book of Conservative ideas. And I think now that you've got Liz Truss in, certainly expect to see, I think, more of these ideas pushed forward. So, Business Secretary Simon Clarke, I think, very, very important. We are going to be seeing lots of labour disputes. I certainly think a lot, certainly in the near future. So definitely will be interesting. So in a snub to his former boss, the financial secretary to the Treasury is now vying with Kotang to lead the department. He has called Sunak's criticism of Truss tax cuts Project Fear. Wonder where he got that from. and is supporting plans for them to happen more quickly. If he loses out on the Chancellor job, he could be made Business Secretary instead. Home Secretary Theresa Coffey. Jesus Christ. you know, yeah, just when you thought you couldn't get anyone worse than Priti Patel. The Work and Pension Secretary has a no-nonsense attitude and is often deployed on the morning media rounds by the government when defending a tricky issue. Given her performance in this role, and she was part of the, quote, 3 MPs Guard of Honour for Truss when she was the Foreign Secretary, made it to the final 2. She's very likely to stay in cabinet. She's experienced at running large government departments, and she may be handed the role of Home Secretary. I think that's entirely possible, but Jesus Christ, when you want to potentially hand it to someone worse than Priti Patel, but there you go. Education Secretary. So, like I say, this is pretty much going to be the guy responsible for the education crisis that we are sleepwalking into. James Cleverly, and of course, again, another Johnsonite. So, one of Johnson's staunchest defenders, Cleverly quickly rose through the ranks to become the Education Secretary at the last reshuffle. While his background in the military and foreign affairs, the Defence Secretary Ben Wallace will probably stay on so he could remain in his current role. That's very possible. And of course, Cyrilla Braverman. I don't know why you would go from Attorney General into Work and Pension Secretaries, but Jesus Christ, considering her attitudes we've seen on, about, basically saying that people are lazy, prepare for a lot of benefit cuts and probably even the benefit system to get a lot harsher. And there's a lot of people saying, how can the benefit system be even harsher than it is? Well, easy, you put Cyril Braverman in charge of it. Already able to attend cabinet as Attorney General, Truss is likely to offer a full cabinet position to the former leadership contender, Cyril Braverman, as a conciliatory support for the rights of the party. One of the roles touted for her is the Work and Pension Secretary. Again, not surprising, obviously, offering your, shall we say, former competitors. Again, it sort of keeps them sweet, keeps them sort of out of trouble, keeps them in your cabinet. So it doesn't surprise me. And once again, as we said, Kemi Badenoch certainly would be in there. Penny Mordaunt's not going to be in this list, almost certainly. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me that Cyril Braverman is there as well. But again, Kemi Badenoch, she was the Undersecretary to Michael Gove in the levelling up position, so it does make sense for her to be offered that. And her big pitch at the leadership contest was, oh my God, the North has all this untapped potential. Well, yeah, you didn't really put forward a concrete plan for this. So again, I'm not expecting you to, shall we say, follow up on, quote, and again, I laugh, successes at Michael Gove's time during that position. So I'm not expecting too much from Kemi Badenoch in that position. And of course, Brexit Opportunity Minister Jacob Rees-Mogg is going to stay where he is because, again, it's big, very much plans to keep the right wing of the party. Like I say, you've got Braverman in, you've got Rees-Mogg in, you've got Kemi Badenoch in, Theresa Coffey, and of course, Kersey Katang. Again, most of these people, again, Johnson loyalists, very, very much on the right wing of the party. Not surprising. So, who could be in Sunak's cabinet? Well, Chancellor is getting up for Steve Barclay. He's served in government under current and previous 2 Conservative administrations. Barclay will be well placed to pick for a senior role for day one. Though he's stepped up as the Health Secretary, as Johnson tried desperately to fill cabinet vacancies, Barclay supported Sunak very early in the race. He's very experienced in the Treasury and has talked, of course, talked very much as a future Chancellor. Not surprisingly. Chief Secretary to the Treasury, that's not really a Cabinet Office Minister Oliver Dowden. Wouldn't surprise me if Oliver Dowden did go into his cabinet. Yeah, Robert Jerrick, Justice Secretary, putting him back in as the Justice Secretary, very, very popular and well thought of in that position. So again, it was very, very surprising when he got sort of shuffled out for it, but at least it would sort of put someone, shall we say, more sensible into the role. Chief Whip Gavin Williamson. Yeah, like I say, that is certainly definitely given that loyalty position, of course. Yeah, this was the fun part that came out of it. Williamson is known as a, quote, master of the dark arts, and having been thrown out of government twice over major security leaks and, of course, the exam results chaos, he may be keen on a comeback in his role as chief whip. Yeah. Certainly expect to hear the word Gavin Williamson dark arts class being muttered in the same role. Of course, Michael Gove, him and Rishi, I'm quite surprised him being in the list, to be honest, had a lot of clashes in that during his time as sort of leveling up secretary, battles with the Treasury to get them to support the funding for what he wanted. Certainly, you know, as senior Tories go, wouldn't be a bad shout for someone being the health secretary. So, yeah. And of course, International Trade Secretary Penny Mordaunt. Again, wouldn't surprise me, again, giving her that spot, but it means kicking out, obviously, Trevelyan. But then again, I don't think this is the cabinet we are going to see. I think this is more a cabinet we're going to see with Liz Truss in there. And of course, not surprisingly, it's full of, well, right-wingers. So again, I don't really think that should surprise anyone, to be honest, at the state of the cabinet that Liz Truss is probably going to put in. But I suppose we'll find out when sort of Liz Truss gets in. We'll see how right those predictions certainly were when that comes to pass. So, as always, thank you very much once again for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button on your way out. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a motivation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee and all that good stuff as well down below. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.